crap. What's my new tagline? I just changed it like 3 days ago. Crap. Hey, Sucios and Cochinos. I'm Gallo, the chivalrous chauvinist. Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. Sucias are my favorite. Today I've got a special guest, a good friend of mine now that's come on about 3 or 4 times to the show. Hopefully this will be more than one episode, but I have Joshua Shea. He is a former porn addict, current porn addict coach, betrayal trauma coach, which you'll probably need an explanation to find out what that is, and a dozen of other things. Joshua, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. This is one of the easiest shows for me to go on. That's why I like coming back again and again. It's just chilling out and talking and having a conversation that you happen to record and show other people.
Right.
That's what those are the best podcasts to me, are the ones where I just have a conversation and somebody plays it for somebody else. It's not, I never feel like it's a hardcore interview with you. It feels like we're just two buds hanging out, and that's what I like.
Oh, well. Sorry, I'm laughing because the video went out. I'll probably fix this in post so that it shows up later, but whatever. Yeah.
I switched to the laptop cam,
Okay.
so this should take care of it if it's the same problem that it was last time. Uh,
We'll see what happens.
yeah,
Um,
but like I was saying, I look back to what I liked about my life back when I was sick, and I always professionally managed to be doing multiple things. I just didn't know how to balance them with personal life. I didn't know how to balance them with, keeping things even. Like today, you and I started at 11 a.m. my time. Um, I've already had one session today. I've already been out to breakfast with my wife. After this, I'm going to have some, lunch, eat healthy now. Then I've got another session, and then I have some schoolwork to do because I've gone back to school a little bit, just taking a couple classes, more to help me with what I'm doing than anything else on a case management side of things.
hmm.
Maine has such poor licensure for everything that I'm never going to end up a therapist. I'm never going to end up a counselor. I'm never going to end up a psychologist. I'm always going to be a coach. But I'm trying to take a lot of the classes that people need to take who end up as those types of things. Because even if I can't be one in name, I'd like to at least know my stuff. Um, it still gets me, and I'm sure you see this all the time. You go on Instagram, and how many of these people who claim to be coaches do you think have one client, maybe two? I just have a feeling that there were a lot of men and women during the pandemic whose friends were like, "Oh, you're so good at talking to people. You should become a coach." And and to them, being a coach means, having photo shoots on the beach. It means finding a really nice, template to put their quotes into. It means, uh, you know presenting this image of a superwoman or superman who can absolutely help you, but they all kind of blend together and get very bland for me. And I just try to be a very genuine version of myself, and doing multiple things is always part of that. So I don't want to ever coach people 8 hours a day. I don't ever want to do podcasts 8 hours a day. I don't want to do anything 8 hours a day. I want to mix things up. And I figure going back to school helps that out a little bit. So I'll do that later this afternoon. And, like I said, it's a little bit of a mix every day. I work 7 days a week, but I rest 7 days a week. And, I work hard 7 days a week, but I play hard 7 days a week. And I've learned that that balance is what's ultimately the most important thing to keep you healthy, and being able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, okay, I'm I'm okay with me. I'm okay with what happened today. I'm not telling myself stories. I'm not building myself up. I'm not minimizing what I did. I just take things at face value now, and it's so much healthier. And I'm sure you feel that same way, having gone through recovery.
Oh yeah, and with the whole recovery thing, it's like a load off my shoulders that when I don't realize it or don't think about it, it's like, I'm going through my life. But then I sit back and think, like in a conversation now, it's like, oh shit, I was really screwed up. And I realize, the hamster wheel that I was on to just get
Yeah.
that fix and then and then part of my fun for me at the time was trying to come up with excuses and see how far I could push it and have that lie going on. Like, okay, how much can I rub it in my wife's face without rubbing in her or without her realizing I'm rubbing it in her face, and in just different things, trying to get different gimmicks to just feed that, that itch, that scratch, that itch in the back of my head or in the middle of my head that I could never satisfy. Uh, but talking about coaching, it frustrates me too because I do want to get that certification, but I can't even uh, be a therapist or anything without having had a bachelor's. I only have roughly 12 college hours. So, I'm not going to go back to college because it's not worth it
Right.
nowadays. And
No.
then to get through it for the licensure. Um, and that's another reason that I don't advertise that I'm a coach. It's more of guys that keep hitting me up, keep technically bothering me. I mean, they are bothering me on my own personal time. Look, if you wanted more of my time, you got to pay for it. And this is what I
Right.
do, help them out. Um, so yeah, that's so frustrating too, seeing on Instagram where everybody has coach in their profile and then a link tree, and you see they have coaching sessions, but if you see their alternate or their backup profile, they also have an OnlyFans. I'm like, okay, what
Right.
are you trying to do here? Which one's, are you just trying to
Right.
see what gives you money?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. I think so. And I think that, that's absolutely part of it. And it's funny you mentioned that, needing the time. I finally about 2 months ago stopped doing free initial sessions because people either weren't showing up, or they were, and then I'd get them and they'd become a great client, but it's like, I'm just wasting too much time here. Or I'd get somebody one time and they'd walk away. They'd get whatever information they needed from me or thought they needed from me in one session and walk away. So I was giving away a lot of knowledge, and now I charge for my 30 minutes or 1 hour first time. And
Hmm.
while it probably overall cut down on the number of new clients I see or the number of people I see for the first time, everybody I see almost always comes back. And that just makes much more sense. And, I'd rather do uh, 3 sessions in a day and lose them all, but still make, $125 than 3 sessions in a day and lose them all and go, "Oh, well, I'll try better next time."
Hmm.
Or I guess it wasn't the right fit. If you're I unfortunately, when I pay my power bill or when I, pay my water bill, I try to write in the little margin that, hey, do you know that I worked with 114 clients the last year? Well, I helped 76 of them. They were repeat clients, and they're all doing much better now. Unfortunately, they didn't pay me much, so I can't pay you, but isn't this goodwill enough? And it turns out the goodwill of what I do is never enough for the power company. It's never enough for the water company. I can't go to a restaurant and just say, I helped 4 people today. They actually want money, so I need to get money from those people who I'm helping. And the reality is, at this point, at the beginning, I felt a little bit weird about taking money from people. But the reality is now I've written 4 books. I've been doing this almost 5 years, this education stuff. I've been coaching now for more than 2 years. Um, I got the TED Talk under my belt. I've got 24 years of porn addiction experience under my belt. I think I bring a unique blend of experience and education to the table, and the reality is, yeah, you know what? I would expect to pay for that with somebody else. I think that I confused myself very early on. Somebody told me that writing my story in my first book was just exploiting my own pain and exploiting my own story for profit. And something about that got into my head, and it took a long time for me to recognize that. Well, I mean, aren't we exploiting ourselves every day? Isn't someone who's a good actor who becomes an actor exploiting that talent? Isn't somebody who is a good painter and sells paintings exploiting that talent? Yes, you paint because you love it. Yes, you paint because it's fun. but you don't just give away your paintings, you sell them because you still have to have a roof over your head. You still have to eat, you still have to provide. And it took me a long time for me to be okay with the genesis of my story leading to where I am now, charging people to help them. But there aren't a lot of people like me out there. And based on my experience now, having coached a lot of people, it seems to work.
Hmm. Hearing that just is kind of like a light switch of not devaluing myself in terms of, wanting to charge people, because I still have that, like you said, that feeling weird about taking money. And on the other hand, I do want to help people, but on one hand, yeah, I got bills to pay, and I'm tired of the rat race. I'm tired of having a 9 to 5. That's why I've switched over more to a gig work type
Yeah.
scenario, so I can have my free time the way I want and work when I need to pay for bills. But I'd rather do that helping people and getting paid for it. So it's
Well, I tell you, I love the fact that I was able to walk away from my ghostwriting and freelancing world. But in August, things get really slow in coaching, end of July and through August. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll see what there is. And I talked to one of my old clients, and I'm now doing some freelance writing for him again. And I like it because it keeps that sharp. I don't want to go back and write long books for other people. I don't want to write blog entries for 8, 10 clients like I was doing back in the day. It was good money, but it was just mindless work. I didn't love it, but I'm doing it with one person now. He was my favorite client, and it's again something else to bring in a little money, mix things up. One of the things I'll be doing later on is writing a couple blogs for his website. He's trying to be a coach as well. He's working on people who are immigrants who have been in the military.
hmm.
That's who he's trying to coach, help them to get into regular life afterwards, after the military. And I didn't realize, but it's a lot of people. It's a
Hmm.
lot of people who that falls under, and there's not a lot of resources for them. Where native-born Americans and people who speak English very well, uh, can get ahead easier than people who, he himself was born in Haiti and moved to Miami when he was 18 years old, and then joined the military at about 23. Um, and it's one of those things. Like I say, it's another thing to do. It's the gig work, and it's thankfully I have my wife because of things like a regular paycheck, and she gets the benefits, and I don't do that, which it would be scary if that didn't happen. But it allows me to be able to pursue a bunch of different things and help people in different ways, and also not have that 9 to 5 that I think at this point I don't know that I'd be able to even function in a 9 to 5 with a traditional boss, lording over me, telling me what to do. And if that means that sometimes the coaching is slow and I have to pick up freelance writing work, I'll do that. And if sometimes I've got too much to do and I can't do writing, I won't do that. But it's a skill I did for 25, 30 years. And I don't need to sit here and just be like, no, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm an educator. That's all I can do. No, I can do plenty of other things. But again, I do them on my time when I want to for a price I set, and that's how I keep that balance in my life. I've never been rich, so I don't think I need to be rich. I would love it. I'd love to try it. I would love to prove to people that money does indeed buy you happiness, but you need to make money first before you can prove that to anybody. And I don't see that. I don't ever see myself being rich, but as long as I'm comfortable, as long as I'm okay, as long as I can travel a little, as long as my kids are okay, then it's a pretty good life. I'm 46 years old, so I must be halfway through it, God willing. And it's been a rough 46 years, but it's been an interesting 46 years, and hopefully I can take what I learned in the first 46 and not make the same mistakes in the next 46. but help more people. And I think I said this to you maybe in our first broadcast. I don't know what the afterlife is. I don't care what the afterlife is. I would just like it to last at least a few seconds where I can see a score of how many people I hurt, how many people I was a taker with, versus how many people I helped and how many people I was a giver with. And I think when, all is said and done at the end of my life, hopefully I've been a helper and a good person more than I've been somebody who's a taker. I know I still have many more years to work on it, but that's kind of my 50,000-foot goal, is just to be a better person that other people can count on than I was all those years of addiction. Because maybe those years are the ones that are going to be the closest that I got to being rich. Those years are the ones I'll be closest to getting famous. I don't know, but those kinds of things are not priorities to me anymore. I don't care who recognizes me. Uh, we have an event in our town every year that Patrick Dempsey comes to.
Hmm.
The actor. He's from
Yeah.
around here, and he opened a cancer center near to the hospital that we have here in honor of his mother, who had cancer like 9 times, and she finally died of it about 6 7 years ago. Um, but he started what he called the Dempsey Challenge, which was a bike race and a running race and whatnot. It must be about 20 years ago, when I was doing the magazine stuff, when I was a local city councilor, when I was a film festival curator. You know, this weekend I would be trying to find him. I'd be trying to get photos with him. I'd be trying to get him to come to my film festival. I'd be trying to get him to do interviews for my magazine. And I love the fact that I guess Patrick Dempsey's in town this weekend, and I don't give a flying fuck whatsoever. I've got 6 photos with the guy. The guy does. I mean, I haven't talked to him in 10 years, but the guy did know who I was. I totally got off about of that. I wrote about that in my first book. How I wanted to be famous. I wanted famous people to like me, and I look back and it's just like all those things that I thought I wanted. And that's what I love about recovery. Is when I was having breakfast with my wife, I mentioned that the place was pretty empty, and she's like, "Oh, well, it's the Dempsey Challenge weekend. Everybody's over at that thing." And it's like, one of the things I don't miss about my old life was having to be involved with all that stuff. I love my community. I loved helping it. I loved doing that stuff, but it was a fake version of me that was doing all that. It was a version of me that was not, I raised thousands and thousands of dollars for so many good causes. I gave away so many thousands of dollars of advertising with my magazine. I mean, I really did a lot of helping in this community, but it was not for altruistic reasons. There was always something of, how is this going to help my image? How is this going to make people like me more? Okay, well, if I get to know Patrick Dempsey, then maybe he can introduce me to somebody who can help me even more. And these kinds of, I don't know if they're sick. I don't know if it's the mind of an ill person, but just it was never enough. It was never ever enough. And there was I don't want to say there was no finish line, because there is still no finish line, but it was just the motivations that I had in life were so skewed. And when people talk about recovery, yeah, it was about getting rid of my porn addiction. Yeah, it was about getting rid of my alcoholism, but it was also just so much about fixing me as a person. And why did I make the decisions I did? What were my motivations? What were my incentives? And recognizing that a lot of them were really screwed up. And I don't know if it had to do with porn, I don't know if it had to do with alcohol, but there was just a lot of my life that was screwed up. And whenever I sit and I'm working with one of my clients, I tell them, recovery is, yes, we're going to start with your addictions, we're going to move on to trauma, but then what else do you need to recover from? And I may have said this the first time we talked, but I say, if you're somebody who's an addict, if you're somebody who is an unhealthy person and you love chocolate ice cream, once you're in recovery, you're going to love chocolate ice cream too. Not that much changes. And the other thing is, if you're prior to getting into recovery, when you're still a sick person, if you're an asshole, odds are when you get into recovery, you're still going to be an asshole. You're still going to find the same kind of humor funny. You're still going to, say the same inappropriate stuff. You're still going to be motivated and incentivized by things that maybe you shouldn't be. And that was a big part of recovery. And I think that's the part that still goes on today for me is recognizing, okay, who do I want Josh as a person to be? And maybe he doesn't have a smart comment for every little thing somebody else says. Maybe he doesn't have a little, double entendre sexual comment to make people laugh. Um, maybe he doesn't need to say that's what she said every time somebody says something even vaguely sexual. Um, this is all to me part of recovery
Mhm.
is becoming the person that you really want to. And I know some people feel like it's somehow betraying who you are, but it's just becoming a much better version of who you are.
Oh yeah, that again chills just with the descriptions you were saying is, you know, even though you go through recovery, I still have that little monster in me that's always trying to be an opportunist and like, okay, what can I get out of this person? How can I use them? How can I
Yeah,
just get them to do something for me? You'd mentioned before of just getting people if they wouldn't in chat, if they wouldn't undress for you, get them to rearrange their room or do something
yeah,
non-sexual to build that trust to then later a month down the road, like, oh yeah, didn't you say you have a red dress that you just got? You know, you never sent me a picture. Let me see. Go try it on real quick. And they'll go do it because they don't see it as sexual because you proved yourself as being a nice guy for them in the
yeah,
first place. And that still carries on today to like, nope, nope, don't do it, don't say it, don't push it. It's like,
yeah.
it's not sexual, so why not? Let's just see. I'm not going to see her. I'm not going to go meet her. I'm not going to do anything with her. So why not give it a try? And it's still a battle. Like
Yeah.
it's what being addicts. It's a daily thing. We may not have daily issues, but we still have to remind ourselves or keep in check because it's a slippery slope. Next thing you know, you're
Well,
back in whatever it is because
and that's
it's work.
that's what right here in my little desk drawer. This is the key to the city. I was only one of two people who got the key to the city in 10 years in my town because of all the stuff I did. And I have this here so when I'm talking to people about recovery, I can pull this move and just toss it off to the side and tell people, okay, it's okay. Tell it made a funny bounce. Tell people that ultimately, yeah, you know what? You don't get to plan to get the key to the city. Very few people in this world ever get the key to the city. Like I said, two people in 10 years got it in my town. I was one of them. I'm sure they wanted it back, but um, it's just a piece of tin that's, colored in gold. It means nothing. It means what it means in the eye of the beholder. It's just a little trophy. And I think that's what a lot of my life was. I think that's a lot of our lives are. It's somehow trying to uh, justify the reasons we do the things we do. It's to show that we are worth something. I said you walked into my office back in the day. You would have seen that key to the city on the wall. You would have seen lots of plaques and other awards and stuff on the wall. They're in boxes in my garage now. Very rarely ever see them. Um, but I didn't have them hanging on my walls in my office because I wanted people to walk in and go, "Oh my God, this guy is great." I had them on my walls so every morning I could walk in and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm great. That's right. I'm great. I'm awesome." And that's what I mean, I think I was partly addicted to was convincing myself I was awesome. How am I special? How am I better than you? You know, when somebody walks into the office and starts gushing about how great the magazine was, it's like, oh, okay, well, I will drop all the work that's important that I'm doing so I can sit here and listen to this stranger tell me what a wonderful person I am, because that's why I'm doing all of this. And frankly, that's not why I'm doing any of this anymore. Um, my last book didn't sell nearly as well as I hoped it would, nearly as well as I thought it would. But I still have to recognize that several hundred people bought my book, and I'm sure that at least a couple dozen got helped by it. I was hoping those numbers would be much higher, but I don't know who these people are who bought it. I don't know what their levels of help are. I don't know how much they're getting better. And if I never find out and they never tell me, that's fine because it's not about me anymore. And that was really, for me, I think that was the alcohol and the porn. I think I always knew it wasn't about me. And I certainly knew I wasn't the center of everybody else's world. But this, the drinking, the alcohol, the workaholism, all made me kind of not think about that other people didn't think about me. You know, that's the thing that's the thing that's kind of eye opening now. I look at is, if we only knew how many other people don't think about us in between in between everything, that would have crushed me back in the day. You know, that would have crushed me back in the, oh my God, are you kidding? Once people put down my magazine, they don't think about me for another month? No. Wait, you mean they're reading my magazine? They just skip that little article at the front with my picture and they just read the other stories by the other writers? They don't even think about me? Oh my goodness, what's wrong? And I still am working with therapists and I'm still working with coaches trying to figure out, why did I need that attention? You know, what, and that, I don't know how much that has to do really with my recovery, but now that I'm 8 years along, it's not about stopping porn. It's not about stopping urges. It's not about not drinking. It's about figuring out, why did I have some of these personality quirks? And why they sometimes still rear their ugly heads, and where did that come from? You know, my parents, they didn't neglect me. They also were not helicopter parents, and they didn't just let me get away with murder. They were very good. And my brother is one of the most normal, well adjusted people I know. So why did I end up this way? You know, these are the things that I think recovery is still there for. And that's why, people say, are you still will you always be a porn addict? And it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't think I'm going to use porn again. I don't think I'm going to drink again, but I would never use the word recovered, because that's like a finish line. And I'm not recovered because there's still so many questions I have about why I was the way I was for the first 37 years of my life. And I want to make sure I don't end up that way again. I want to make sure history doesn't repeat itself. Um, and have to pay attention to all these little personality flaws and character flaws, and those little voices in your head. Like you said, the monsters in your head, monsters are still there. They don't go anywhere. When I tell people, I can help you, we can resolve your trauma, but unresolved trauma only becomes resolved. It's not like it goes away. It's not like we can make it disappear. We don't have one of those Men in Black little memory lights to, wipe your mind, which would be awesome. But all we can do is process and then try to move forward. And I think that's really what life is. It's processing what's happened, trying to make sense of it, trying to take the good out of it, take the lesson out of it, and move forward. That's how I look at life day to day now.
I think that's a problem for everybody, addicts and non-addicts, of being able to objectively look at yourself and decide, are you doing better, or even have the motivation to look better or feel better about yourself. Because we all want to be the star of our own story, or most of us do, if we don't have anxiety or other issues that are with us, and other neurodivergencies. But like you said, it was made me think again. Okay, am I, what type of, not what type of addict, but how do I best describe myself? Am I a former intercourse addict? Am I a recovered intercourse addict? Like, what is it? Because yes, I was an addict. I know that I'm not going to go pursue it, but then again, like I said, you have that little monsters like, well, you're not having sex. You can try something else, and it's not having sex, and it's that reminder of, okay, it's not intercourse. You're not having intercourse, but you can still pursue this. But that's just that monster trying to find another way to feed itself, and it's just an addict, or having that addiction within you that is trying to find its way out again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had a little bit of money earlier this year, and I went to a local casino a couple times, and the worst thing happened to me in that I did really well 3 times in a row. And I went back a fourth time, and thankfully I was smart enough to figure this out right away. I went back a fourth time, and I lost. And I lost, not huge, but by my standards huge. I'm the kind of guy who I win $100, I leave. I lose $50, I leave. Well, I ended up losing like $500 because I knew my system was going to eventually work because it worked those first three times.
Mhm.
Even though I know there is no system. You can't have a system for slot machines. Yet I'm telling myself that I know that our state mandates, 92% payback on machines. I also know that these machines, if you unless you play the highest number of credits, you don't get into the bonus games. That's where the real money is made. So I'm making these like a beautiful mind bullshit scientific formulas in my head that I never understood back in algebra class anyway. But I'm like, okay, well, if this has to equal, in 50 rolls at the top bet, this has to pay off at least twice. And if it's at 94%, the odds are I'm going to end up ahead by like 80%. And the thing was, the first few times I did it, I was able to tell myself a narrative that, "Oh, my system works here." And then I went that fourth time. It's like, whoa, nope, it doesn't work. And don't go to the friggin' casino again because you were talking to yourself like you were an addict. You were talking to yourself like uh, you were more awesome than you really are. You were talking about, you don't cut your losses and walk away. You dig your hole deeper and deeper. You know that's what you do. So I ended up walking away from that. That was like 3, 4 months ago. I haven't been back there since. Um, and it's one of those things where it's like you have to be vigilant. I when I play video games with my son when he's home from college, I make sure I don't play too much, or it's not, or I don't put too much stock in any of the goals. Okay, I have to collect 100 of these things. All right, well, I could spend my next 3, 4 hours trying to do this just so I can see what happens next because I'm always curious what happens next. But ultimately, what am I going to gain? All I'm going to have is another goal after that. All I'm going to have is another goal after that. And so, keeping that balance and making sure that not only do I not fall back into the porn and alcohol, but that I don't let something else, that little monster swim into something else before it's too late. Because, like I said, 3 times in a row going to the casino within like 4 months of each other, that's way too much for me. Even though I was winning, I should have recognized that was way too much for me. And I needed that one time where I just got bitch slapped and to kind of wake me up and go, oh, okay, I don't have a system here. There is no system whatsoever. I am telling myself, like any other addict, I'm telling myself the stories I want to hear. And I think that's the thing that we have to watch as addicts. And I don't care if it's sex, porn, gambling, alcohol, drugs, food, whatever. We tell ourselves the stories we want to hear. And I think that's one of the biggest ways we stay in recovery is to tell us ourselves the stories we have to hear, not the ones that we wish we could hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I just get a kick out of your casino story because I'm in Reno, so I can go to a gas station and there's
Oh,
video
yeah.
poker everywhere you go. There's some type of gambling form, and I'm the complete opposite. Like I'll go to a casino maybe once a year because a friend's birthday or whatever, and
Yeah.
I'll put $20 in a slot machine, and when I lose that $20, I want to burn that motherfucker to the ground because like I want my $20 back. $20 is $20, so
Yeah, well,
and
I tell myself, I don't mind going if I spend $40 and it takes an hour to lose it. Well, that was entertaining for an hour. That's $40 worth. That's fine. But then I noticed that I was getting to this thing where it's like I'm sitting at the same machine too long and I'm talking to it in my head. And I'm seeing like it's like, and then like bar, and then cherry, and I can see that bar was one up. And I'm like, oh man, I was so close. I bet if I just keep doing this, I'll get that because I was so close. It's like, no, you asshole. The way that these things work is every spin is independent of each other. It's not like scoring a goal in soccer where, oh, you were close. Next time you bring the ball down, maybe you'll score. There is no skill involved in this. It's pushing a damn button. And sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. And I had to remind myself of that, and I had to, it was a $500 lesson I had to remind myself, but I'm glad that I did.
mm. No, $500. Yeah,
I know, I know.
I'd
But
get mad.
the thing was, I won more than that in my 3 trips, so I still ended up being ahead
Mhm,
overall, but, yeah, I needed that lesson, and I need to, I've gained a few extra pounds over this summer because of just not eating great, uh, and the stresses that have been going on at home, and I gotta start taking care of that, and that's just involves more discipline, and
mhm,
I've always been one of those guys who I don't like exercising for the sake of it. I don't put me to the at the high school track and tell me to walk in circles. Don't put me on a treadmill and tell me just to walk like a rat. You know, Drive me 2 miles from home and drop me off and then say, "Good luck getting home." Then I'll exercise because 'cause I've gotta walk to get home. But I when I was in Chicago with my son this summer, we went on a little vacation, and I think I walked about 20 miles in 3 days, and it was great because I had to.
mhm.
But otherwise, I don't exercise enough. That's one of those discipline things that I'm talking to myself about. It's like, okay, asshole, you're going to have to start walking. You're going to have to start maybe doing some yoga, doing some stretching. You're at an age now where your body doesn't jump back from things the way it used to. So things have to adjust. And again, it's that discipline, it's that being in charge of yourself, and it's almost being a stoic in some ways, saying, okay, well, there's going to be pain here, but the pain will lead to reward, and I'm just going to follow that as closely as I can, and hopefully become a better person out of it. And a lot of times it's easier said than done, and my stomach can prove that right now.
Yeah, the one thing I found easier is switching, or for me in that sense, is doing intermittent fasting, basically eating once a day and eating healthy-ish, and then giving myself a cheat day. So like one day a week, I'll cheat, eat whatever I want, and then eat healthy throughout the week. So instead of making it a goal of, okay, once I get down 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever, and then I can cheat, I just have a cheat day a week. That way, it keeps me on track
Do
better
you
than.
do you keep the cheating within the time frame of the fasting? Like if you
Yeah, well,
allow you,
so I just don't really get hungry anymore throughout the day. So usually my breakfast is 6 to 8 p.m. and I'll just eat one meal and I'll probably have a snack before I go to bed at 2 in the morning.
yeah,
Um, and then on the weekend, you know, I'm not hungry till 6, so I technically force myself to have something to eat around noon because okay, I want um, breakfast or brunch somewhere that has, the amazing mimosas. So I got to get up
yeah,
early and force myself to eat then. And then I usually like skip my Friday night meal or snack. So that way I'll be hungry by the time I get up. And then I'll have another meal 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So that way I get at least two cheat meals in the weekend or my cheat
yeah.
day.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing I got to write down and just follow. And I can't just, when I was 25 years old, I could just lay off a beer for a couple of weeks, or lay off of Cheetos for a couple of weeks. And now I can't do it that easy, and it obviously has to do with times a day I eat. But again, changing body, getting older,
Mhm.
figuring things out, and just thank God that I have a much healthier mind to do it now than I once did. You know, that's the good part about the recovery, is that I don't have that diseased mind that is always pushing me, like it did before. The monster's still there. Got to control the monster, but he's con- he's in his cage, and his cage is, got a cage on top of that cage, and he's pretty well kept in there, and it's just a matter of making sure my life on the outside is good, so nothing sneaks in to let him out.
Mhm. Ah, it's just crazy, seeing the reflection of, our past or the
Yeah,
parallels. And then also at the same time, I was like, you know what? You've done things. I've gone similar paths or thought about doing the similar thing. Like, oh, it's frustrating, but it's also really a relief to know that I'm not alone. And that's kind of like the point of the podcast, of letting people know that they're not alone, that there is things out there, and it's not just intercourse addiction. There's other types of addictions out there for not for everyone, but that everyone goes through. And,
yeah.
you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, even though it may not look great, but it's better than the alternative.
Right, right. Well, darkness is the absence of light. So if there's any light, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
And you learn how to make it burn brighter. And it doesn't happen overnight. Recovery takes a long time. I still have my aha moments. Uh, I don't know if I mentioned this the last time we were together, but it occurred to me not too long ago that women should be able to dress any way they want, and we should not say when something bad happens to them, well, come on, you had to know somehow this would happen. You had to know somehow that this was a possibility. Yeah, if you wear next to nothing and you walk by a construction site, the stereotype says that they are going to whistle at you or catcall you. Is that okay? Should we say, well, a woman should know better than that? A woman should go do that? No, we should actually live in a world where that's not encouraged. We should live in a world where they can do what they want and not have to worry about how are they presenting themselves. That's not fair. That's not cool. And it seems to me that's the kind of thing I should have learned when I was 13 years old. But it's something that I figured out in this last year that the idea of, "Yeah, but you should have seen this coming," is a totally bullshit idea, is a totally bullshit way of putting, responsibility on somebody who really doesn't bear the brunt of the responsibility. It's up to the people who are being assholes to fix themselves, and it's up to us as humans in the world to fix the situation, not to look at the woman and go, "Well, your skirt is very short. If you don't think people are gonna comment on your legs, you're just stupid." That's wrong. That is wrong. I'm not
I
saying it doesn't
agree and
happen.
disagree. I
I'm
agree and
not saying it
disagree.
doesn't happen.
No,
It
no, it's not about
obviously
it's not about the not happening. For me, it's more of just to put it in a different perspective is if you have a Ferrari or any fancy car, a $200,000 car, and you go to a bad side of town at night and you have a briefcase full of cash and that briefcase is open in the passenger seat, windows are down, you're not going to leave that car unlocked with the windows down in that neighborhood to go get something at a convenience store. That you bear responsibility if the car gets stolen, if money gets stolen out of there, because you chose to do something that isn't bad or wrong, just lack of common sense. Common sense would say put the briefcase in the trunk, lock the doors, close the windows. So it depends, like in the scenarios, because you can't
common sense. I
expect.
agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Common sense would say that.
Mhm.
But who breaks the law taking the money?
Oh, the criminal, of
Not
course.
the Ferrari guy.
No, the criminal, of course. But you can't change. We're not gonna be able to change human nature overnight. I mean,
No.
this is me as a Gen Xer took me 40 years to realize, hey, mental health is a thing, that I'm not a pussy. I'm not a little fag for, wanting to fix my mind and deal with traumas and issues that I had as a child, as a teen, as a young adult, as a 30-year-old man, going through those things. It took me 40 years to come to that realization. So we can't expect everyone to change overnight.
Oh, no,
So,
no.
so again, it's not putting the onus on the woman for whatever happens to her for the way she's dressed, but common sense should dictate dress that way for specific scenarios. Don't just dress that
In
way all the time and
in 2020,
expect. Yeah.
yes, in 2022, you're correct.
Mhm.
But what can we do to make 2032 better?
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Have podcasts, have conversations,
Yeah.
have people want to decide. Hey, look, it's fine to look, stare, and leer all you want. Don't make comments unless it's consensual, it's acceptable. That she's like, um, and her personally to be able to say, hey, that's a good looking dress on you versus, hey, hot mama, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
whatever you got to say. So there, there's nuance to everything.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing is that I think that a lot of my life was very black and white
Mhm.
in my, ill days. And now a lot of the aha moments I have are those nuances of, it's one of the reasons why I can't stand politics anymore. It's one of the reasons I don't want to watch any cable news. It's one of the reasons I don't want to really know what's going on in my world because people don't look at anything with any nuance anymore. I don't think there's anything wrong with a Joe Biden supporter. I don't think there's anything wrong with a Donald Trump supporter. I think if they could sit down honestly, they probably have so much more in common than they have apart. But because they've decided that they are supporting different teams, it's almost like Red Sox Yankees. Why do I hate you? Because of your shirt. Well,
Hmm.
what happens when a Red Sox player joins the Yankees or a Yankee player joins the Red Sox? Suddenly we love them. Why?
Hmm.
Because they're wearing the right shirt.
I have a friend that manages or is on a like top 50 podcast for sports, and I always bust their balls. I was like, you're just sports balls nuts. It doesn't even matter who's playing or whatever. You're still gonna have that diehard fandom for whatever team it is. But you look at your team. Very rarely, whatever team you pick in anywhere, are the players born and raised, went to a high school there, went to a
Yeah.
college there, and then ended up on that pro sports ball team. They're usually from all over the place. They're
Yeah.
from Kentucky and they went to college in Miami and now they play for Los Angeles or whatever. So you're very rarely. Why do you have any affiliation or any drive for that team, or even soccer? A lot of players go from all over the place or from all over the world, and it just doesn't make sense for me to have that fandom, that ravenous, diehard fandom for a team when the team itself has nothing to do other than being in the city that you live in.
Right. Well, that's and you're cheering outfits.
Hmm.
That's it doesn't matter who's in the outfits. You're cheering. There was a comedian who said it once that we cheer for laundry. That's essentially it. We cheer for
Hmm.
laundry, and that has made me a little. And I think at the same time as I've gotten less political with my recovery, I've gotten less into sports too because I start and the pandemic didn't help, but I turned on the Red Sox a few times this year. They're my team. I've got a giant tattoo on my leg for the Red Sox. I love them. They were, I grew up with them. I don't even know who the players on the team are anymore. And it's like and I don't really care. And maybe I don't know if that's done in my life that, my baseball fandom is waning, but it's like, well, you know what? This player played for four other teams, and I know at the end of the day, I don't think he cares about winning. I don't think he cares nearly as much as I do. I was watching Monday Night Football the other day, and they were talking about one of the players making $21 million this year. And I was thinking, this dude plays in 16 games, and that's like 1.25, 1.3 million per game. I don't know how many years it would take me to make that kind of thing. And that's one game. After 10 games, you're set for life. Why do you give a shit what happens to the team? As long as the checks keep coming in, you're set. You need to work 1 year out of your life and you are set beyond 99% of us.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing with the money in sports as well is that it's same as the money in politics. And it's just one of those things that I have again, it's not looking at the world black and white. It's looking at the world with grays. It's looking at the world with nuance and saying that okay, my way of okay, I am right about this. I know this is the right thing to do. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's time to, maybe I need to constantly be questioning myself. And
Hmm.
people that's one of the reasons I kind of like people who are in recovery because we are questioning ourselves. Those of us who are successful with recovery are always kind of on alert, looking for the BS out there, looking for anybody who has an answer for anything that they are 100% on. That's the person I don't trust because being 100% on anything is scary.
Hmm.
Um, but again, that's the journey, and I like the journey I'm on, and I'm going to continue on this journey, God willing, as long as I humanly can, and I'm going to help other people as long as I humanly can.
Yeah, that's words to live by. So, with that, I guess I'll wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening in. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or answers, sorry, not answers, what are you going to answer? You're going to have? if you have any questions more
I
about
could use
trail
an if
combo.
anybody has answers and they wanna send them to me, I could use some answers.
So, where can they find you to send those answers that you
Yeah,
have?
my website is, the letter P and then the words addict recovery. So it's paddictrecovery.com. That you can that has, access to my books, access to my coaching, access to other thing a lot of resources on there. Best place best place to hit me up is right there. Instagram, it's also P Addict Recovery, and that'll lead you to my, uh LinkedIn, lead you to the TikTok, lead you to all that other stuff. But most of the time I spend now is on Instagram. So P Addict Recovery. Let me see you there.
Great. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you so
For
much.
all my listeners, thanks for listening in. I love you. You are worthy of it. Till next time, besos.